Hey folks, it's Laura with Rain Tree Nursery. And right here I have some homemade blackberry juice. We made a video about how to extract this juice from fresh berries, and people got so excited when I said I was going to make wine out of my blackberry juice. We decided we would make a video about how to make a quick and fail-safe blackberry wine. Now, the one thing I have to tell you about making wine is that I am a total newbie when it comes to winemaking. Anybody who knows about how to make wine knows more about the subject than I do. However, I've done it a few times. I have a pretty fail-safe recipe that I'm really happy to share with you. And if you follow these very simple instructions, you'll certainly have a lot of fun, and you'll probably have something tasty at the end, too. Now remember, this is very rustic winemaking. There are lots of other bells and whistles you could use, but I have pared this down to the very bare bones. Number one, I have the juice that I got out of my steamer, and I've added the correct proportion of sugar to that juice already. I need a sterilized funnel. I like metal funnels because I can sterilize them using boiling water. I have our fermentation vessel. This is a gallon jug that I have cider I bought at the store. And this fantastic little airlock. This is the sweetest tool. You want to make sure that your cork fits your bottle. We're going to add a little bit of water to this, and it's going to allow the CO2, that is the exhalation of the yeast, to escape, but it will keep any oxygen and any bugs that want to join the party from getting inside. And last but not least, we have a little bit of water to add to our recipe, and we have our fabulous winemaker's yeast. Because I am using a sterilized juice and not fresh fruit, I need to add yeast to the process. This stuff is cheap and it's easy and it always works. So first, let's talk about adding the sugar. I went ahead and added 1 part sugar to 2 parts juice. When I had my hot juice that had just come out of the steamer, I added my sugar, and here we have it. Very, very sweet juice. In goes the juice into my fermentation vessel. I don't know if you can see this, but this is really thick and syrupy stuff. And after we add the juice, then we're going to go ahead and add some water to keep things from getting too crazy sweet. I'm adding 1 part water to 4 parts juice. I want to get every last little bit of gorgeous juice out of this. And then last but not least, we're going to add the yeast party that's going on in here. I've proofed this yeast, so it's already starting to do its thing in 120-degree water. In that goes. Once again, use our water to wash everything down. Look at that color, isn't it gorgeous? Then I've added water to my airlock, to the fill line. This comes off. My sterilized airlock and cork goes on. And now the fun begins. Now here is a pro tip. This can get really crazy busy. Sometimes it gets so active, the bubbles come up, they bubble up through the airlock and out and onto the floor. Having cleaned this up several times, I now put this in a bucket so the party can get as wild as it wants to, and I don't have to clean up afterwards. Now we only want to let this primary fermentation go for 24 to 36 hours. It's a relatively short phase. The bubbles will emerge and then they'll die down. And when you see them die down, that's the time to transfer your liquid into a smaller fermentation vessel where there's very little surface area that will be in contact with the oxygen. you'll put your airlock on top of this new vessel. And this is the vessel that it will sit in for several more days. This should be easier to take tastes from, and you just keep tasting it until you get that exact flavor that you want, that sweet, dry blend that pleases your palate. Hey y'all, quick update. It's a couple of hours since I put everything in there and the party's already getting started. You can see all of the bubbling and frothiness on the top. That is how you know that the yeast is doing its thing. Now we're just gonna let it sit and bubble away. And here we have it. This has been sitting for a couple of days with the airlock on out on my kitchen counter. It, of course, has smelled divine. And it's right at the spot where I like it. It's sweeter than it is dry, which is what I like. And it's lightly effervescent. Sometimes they turn out that way. If I want to keep that effervescence, I can just put this whole thing in my refrigerator, airlock and all. The cold temperature in the fridge will hold this, will slow down the fermentation process very, very much. And I'll probably be able to enjoy this for a week or two before the flavor really changes. If I don't care about the effervescence, or I want to bottle it up and be able to give it as gifts, then I'll go ahead and heat this up on the stove, put it in a stock pot, heat it to 180 degrees, which will pasteurize it. It will kill all of the yeast activity. And then you can pour it off into some pretty wine bottles and put in a cork or whatever you want to use to top it with and save it for years. This is not the kind of wine that ages well. You do want to drink it within a year or two. It's not fancy like a grape wine, but oh my goodness, is it luscious. Thanks for joining us. It's Laura with Rain Tree Nursery. Happy winemaking.